It's championship weekend, Chiefs Kingdom, and once again, for the 7th straight year in a row, your Kansas City Chiefs are in the AFC Championship game, primed to take that Lamar Hunt Trophy home, at home, once again, and it is the Buffalo Bills this season, as the last time the Chiefs saw the Buffalo Bills in this very game was back in 2020, the COVID year. I guess it was 2021 at that point in January, but the year of 2020, but the Chiefs are back again, once again, like we said. Most of us, at least, most of us Chiefs fans, never a doubt the Kansas City Chiefs are right back where they are supposed to be, on their way to a three-peat. Would be, of course, the first team in NFL history to get a three-peat in the Super Bowl era. We all know that. Andy Reid collecting his 300th victory as a head coach last weekend against the Houston Texans. We're going to get into a little bit of the Houston Texans matchup. Obviously, we're going to preview this Bills game that is coming up. I'm recording this on Saturday morning, so should be out either Saturday night, Sunday morning, one of the two. Welcome back to the Papa Schro Knows podcast, though. It has been a minute since your boy has been on podcast talking Chiefs football. I think since right after Christmas. You know, life, work, the world. Whole lot of stuff going on for everybody out there. So I am back. I did preview the wild card weekend. I didn't last weekend, just again time constraints and stuff. But either way, we were back. I'm gonna get off of this whole my soapbox of I'm back. But the Chiefs are back in the AFC Championship game once again, and that is what we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about the Houston Texans in the Divisional Round first. I was at that game last Saturday night. Got very sick afterwards, which sucked, but the game was great, and, another good Chiefs playoff game. I mean, it seems like the Chiefs are unbeatable early in the playoffs at this point, no matter what the circumstance. Pretty well-handled game. I know there were some issues. We're going to talk about that with officiating and whatnot. And, honestly, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a separate video for everyone. I feel like, not just Chiefs fans, but really officiating is just bad. Officiating bad around the league, I think. We saw the call in the Bills game last weekend against the Ravens in the divisional round where Keon Coleman pushed the corner down. I can't remember what corner it was, caught the ball. We saw that with Jamar Chase early in the season against the Kansas City Chiefs where he pulled McDuffie down by, the collar, and it was called a defensive pass interference on McDuffie, even though Jamar Chase was the one that, initiated the contact that sent him to the ground. It's something that I feel like Jamar Chase gets away with about 90% of the time is pushing off. Where, where is that balance? And at this point, I've kind of just come to realize, like, when in doubt, it's the defender's fault. But going back to my point that I'm making is the fact that the officials just suck. Officiating's bad. I think the NFL is scared of the replacement refs when we had the replacement refs, of course, and I can't remember off the top of my head, 2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere around that time frame. Of course, there's that huge call with the Packers and the Seahawks in Seattle where, one official saying, no, it's not a catch. The other one saying it's a touchdown. Everybody's arguing. Nobody knows what's really going on. And I think the NFL is just terrified of that. And I think that they let the refs slack because of that. And not even to say slack, because I don't want to put it on the officials like they're not trying to do their best or, are running, rigging, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, they're just humans just like everybody else on the football field. We watch players make boneheaded decisions all the time, especially when you're a Chiefs fan. You watch defenders make real boneheaded decisions, and then, everybody blames everyone else besides the player. Such as Will Anderson Jr. going and hitting Patrick Mahomes high early in the game. Very silly move, I thought. When you did look at there's one angle that shows he makes contact with his shoulder before he hits his helmet, and I think people are kind of saying, but he didn't hit him in the head. Well, I mean, he did still make contact with his head with the face mask. And, I mean, his head did pop back. Mahomes' head popped back. That's going to get called against any quarterback in the league, I 100% believe. And I think it should. I mean, at the end of the day, you look at how much these quarterbacks are making. And, they are the reason that we tune in. Let's go back to Thanksgiving Day where it was, I think, Tommy DeVito versus Cooper Rush. I mean, football, it's on. We're watching, but are we enjoying it? When we rather see Dak Prescott versus, I don't know who the hell the Giants have to throw out a quarterback that we want to watch, but, I just think that you want to protect your quarterbacks. They're the face of the league. They're the face of every franchise. I mean, it is not 2001 anymore. It's a quarterback-driven league. It is what it is. I mean, you hit the quarterback too low, it's a penalty. You hit him too high, it's a penalty. You hit him too hard, it's a penalty. And this is not me necessarily saying that I 100% agree, but I understand the business side of it. I understand why these rules are put in place. And, as a consumer, I also, get it as well because, again, I don't want to go watch Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito on Thanksgiving. I would like to see Dak Prescott versus hopefully someone worthy of a draft choice for the Giants or, a matchup where you see both quarterbacks. Last year, taken into consideration, where you got Jake Browning versus Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead. I think we'd all much rather see Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes. I think we'd rather see Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. I don't know. And I get it. It's full contact sport. Trust me, I 100% get it. But, the protections are put in for the quarterbacks because they drive the league. They drive the numbers. They drive the ratings. And it just isn't the same world that we lived in, 20, 30 years ago. And it is what it is. Anyways, let me get off of my soapbox of protecting quarterbacks because, I get it. It's football at the same time. You want to be able to hit somebody and all that good stuff. But protecting the quarterback, I think, is paramount. Let's go quickly to wrap up this Texans game. Just talk about it for a minute. Patrick Mahomes, 16 to 25, 177 yards, no touchdown. Kareem Hunt, he showed out 5.5 yards per carry, 8 carries, 44 yards. He did have the touchdown early. Isaiah Pacheco, just 5 carries, 18 yards. He was getting more of the workload early, but later on in the game, they kind of went away from Pacheco. I do think they might have brought him back a little early. I don't think that he's really been the same guy since coming back from I'm pretty sure it was something broken in his leg, if I'm not mistaken, which, awesome to have Pacheco back, but, it does make you think and worry a little bit. Look, all of these guys are professionals. I believe that, he should be out there if, the doctors are saying he should be, or he can be out there, but I don't think he's the hot hand right now. I think Kareem Hunt's the hot hand when it comes to the running back situation in Kansas City. Receiving, the old man. 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. Travis Kelce, he's washed. He can't do it anymore. He's not the same tight end. We tried to tell you. We tried to tell you guys all year. All year we tried to tell you guys. This team is 15-1 for a reason. Or 15-2, excuse me. Showing my age here with schedule math. Xavier Worthy, 5 catches, 45 yards. He was really implemented into the game plan. Didn't do a ton, but again, 5 catches, 45 yards. 3 catches, 13 yards. That was Noah Gray. 1 catch for 2 yards, Kareem Hunt. Just 4 guys caught passes for the Kansas City Chiefs. DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, and Juju Smith-Schuster, or Justin Watson. None of these guys caught passes in this game against the Houston Texans. A little interesting to look at, and especially when we're talking about the Buffalo game from earlier this year, because I feel like there was a consistent with Bills Mafia where, they talked a lot about Matt Milano not playing, and I know there's a couple other guys out. I just don't know who exactly they were, but there was like 3 guys on that defense that was out against Buffalo, or against the Ravens in the regular season game that the Bills played. Bills Mafia made a big deal out of it, and we saw why. I mean, Matt Milano had a great game. The Bills defense played a solid game. I'll say solid. I don't think they played a great game, and I don't think this Bills team in general played a great game against the Ravens. They almost, Mark Andrews catches a pass. They're going to overtime, and I don't know if I 100% believe Buffalo would have won that game in overtime. I mean, I don't know. It's it's hearsay, hypotheticals. But just with the way the momentum of that game was going, if Mark Andrews catches that pass, I think Baltimore has a lot of the momentum. It reminded me of that Chiefs and Bengals game from a couple of years ago in Cincinnati where Kelsey caught a pass on a late drive, was trying to make something happen, get further down the field, ball ripped from him, it's a fumble. Bengals end up winning the game off of the Kelsey fumble. It was really like cut and paste that game, I felt like, as Mark Andrews had the big fumble. Obviously, you can point to the first half with Lamar Jackson having the interception and the fumble. The interception was one thing. The fumble I thought was egregious by Lamar. I think that, you just need to go down when something like that's happened, especially in a game where it's snowing, there's snow on the ground. It's the biggest game of your life. I mean, last weekend was the biggest game ever for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, I believe, both of them. And, Josh Allen moved on, and now I think this game is more important than even last week. But I think more important than, some of those earlier matchups, like the AFC Championship game in 2020 against the Chiefs, where, very beginning of Allen's career, not much has been carved out. Now we're at a point where Josh Allen kind of has a legacy of, he got past the divisional round that one time, wasn't able to win the AFC Championship game. He hasn't got past the divisional round after that. He hasn't really beaten many good quarterbacks in the playoffs. Joe Burrow beat him. Patrick Mahomes has beat him every single time. He did have that one win against Lamar Jackson, kind of. Lamar Jackson didn't play the fourth quarter, of course, went out at the end of the third with a concussion. The Ravens were down 2 scores at that point, so, decipher that how you will and however you feel. But either way, I think the defense really showed up, played pretty good on Saturday against the Texans. There was a couple of moments where, I think they could have done better, but, the Texans had a couple of drives that they really sustained and had some good time of possession, which is going to be big for the Bills, and I think the Bills will want to kind of take that route, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Getting back to my point, though, that I had against the Buffalo Bills is Hollywood Brown obviously was not there for that game. DeAndre Hopkins was very early on in his time with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's kind of grown into this offense a lot more. Him and Patrick Mahomes have a lot more trust together. And even seeing last weekend as a lot of these guys weren't used, I mean, Travis Kelce, I think, is going to be a big issue for the Buffalo Bills, or at least, something to watch and look out for. That's going to open up everything else, or vice versa. If they are more worried about Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, what these guys can do on the outside, and Xavier Worthy, hopefully the Chiefs can get the run game going, but Kelce may have another big game against the Buffalo Bills. Of course, you look at last year, he had that big touchdown catch against the Bills in Buffalo in the divisional round. I mean, this is a team that the Chiefs have time and time again beat in the playoffs, and I think for good reason, and lost in the regular season, and I also think for good reason. When you look at just how everything has worked out, they don't show their full hand against the Bills in the regular season, whereas I think it's a big game for the Bills. The Bills do everything they can to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs say, fine, you can have the regular season matchup. We'll beat you in January, though. I mean, and it's been the same for years, and I don't see that changing. Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, whenever the hell the game is, 5:30 Arrowhead time here in Kansas City. But let's look back at last week first, because I think we got to talk. I just got to touch on it. I feel like I've been on Twitter and social media going back and forth and reading all of the comments and things like that. I mean, it's the Chiefs or the Patriots. The Patriots got the exact same treatment, and I think it's hilarious that this last week has been kind of the first time where I've seen a lot of people kind of looking at the Patriots dynasty with rose-tinted glasses, and that's fine. I think that's totally fine, because, I mean, what the Patriots did for 20 years was absolutely phenomenal. Let's not forget they got caught cheating twice. Not once, but twice. They got caught actually cheating. Filming other teams' walkthroughs in the Super Bowl against the Rams. Deflategate, which, I'm not going to get too much into that, but Deflategate, I mean, it was against the rules. Whether it helped or not, it was against the rules, and it is what it is. But I do think, what Belichick, Brady, and those guys did for so long is just absolutely amazing. And I don't want to take anything away from the Patriots dynasty, really. Just the just funny. It's just funny, I think. As a Chiefs fan that sat through it, hated the Patriots for most of that run, I think really the beginning and the end was fun to watch, around the early 2000s and watching that Patriots team rise. And, I was a kid that grew up in the middle of Missouri as a Chiefs fan where everybody was Rams fans. So, I thought it was hilarious when the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. And the end of it was fun. When you're watching greatness, I mean, you have to appreciate it. And I came around at the end with Brady and the Patriots, but it was also fun watching the dynasty die. And now here we are on the other side of it. And somehow, some way, my Kansas City Chiefs have become the team that everybody loves to hate. So let's get into these clips because we're going to talk about the officiating real quick. And first, we're going to start off with, I'm sure you've seen it already, but Will Anderson talking about the officials from Saturday's game against the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
He's kept this organization, this team, all year, man. He has blessed us and favored us tremendously, man. And I just got to give all glory to him. And we knew it was going to be us against the refs going into this game. And, I talked to you guys early this week. And I was just saying, we got to go out there and we got to do us better. And, in some instances we didn't do that, in some instances we did. So we just got to keep going, man. Next offseason, get the guys together, man. And, everybody just coming together and just keep building that team chemistry and get past this hump.
All right, so a little bit of a crazy take to hear from a player, I thought at least. And not even so much as crazy, I guess, but it reminded me of Isaiah Likely week 1. And the moment Isaiah Likely said, I hope that's not their best shot because we'll see, that's not going to beat us in the playoffs. And sure, lo and behold, the Ravens beat the Ravens in the playoffs. And that is the mindset. That's the mindset of a team that beats themselves. The Houston Texans left Kansas City, where I don't think they would necessarily beat themselves, but on these penalties, and I'm going to get into the two specific calls everybody's talking about and give my take on it. But, I hate to be just that guy that's like, oh, it's loser mentality. But it is to a point. I mean, you're not holding yourself accountable for going out there and not being able to do enough. The Ravens weren't able to do enough week 1. That's why the Bengals are at home right now. They're pointing every which way to everyone else. Whose fault is it? Well, it's your guys' fault for not winning enough games to make the damn playoffs. The Broncos were a better team than the Bengals in 2024. Let's call a spade, guys. That is the problem. And the problem is, and nobody wants to admit this because everybody hates the Chiefs, but, as a Chiefs fan and growing up in Kansas City, I'll tell you right now, I'm not afraid to say that the Chiefs don't handle situations like this. They're not blaming everybody else. They're blaming themselves. And then I've saw the clip of Patrick Mahomes from last year's Buffalo game popping up left and right. And that's smart to use in the landscape of the way things work nowadays, right? That's the clip that everyone else has. That's, oh, here's the gotcha clip of Patrick Mahomes yelling and screaming about a call that didn't go his way. And, well, I mean, yeah, he was upset on the field after a call where, you saw in the replay, Tony points over to the official. Official gives him good to go, throws the flag afterwards. Offsides. It sucked. I was there. I was at that game. It was one of the worst. I don't know how to put it because I don't want to say one of my worst moments at Arrowhead, but, that was one of the best plays. Maybe the best play I've ever seen live. The greatest play. The hook and ladder from Kelsey back to Tony to score a touchdown, all for us to hear illegal formation, offsides, whatever the hell it was. Bring it back, end up losing the game. The Chiefs didn't hold on to that mentality. That's the problem. Mahomes was upset on the field. So he got back to the locker room, talking to the media. He's apologized for it. I'm sure he's not happy with his behavior on the field that night, but things get heated. When you play a sport, a physical sport at that, things get heated. And I think the biggest thing with social media in this day and age is most of these people speaking on this kind of stuff have never been in competition like that. I firmly believe that most people have not been in competition in a way where it's gotten to that level. And I don't think that you have to have been a professional athlete, even a collegiate athlete, maybe not even a high school athlete. Because me personally, I mean, I played sports my whole life. I didn't play sports in high school. I went into mixed martial arts. I, fought in a cage amateurly. You understand, things get heated. Things get upset, and you things happen that you don't mean to happen in the heat of the moment, and all you can do is apologize for it and keep it moving. That's what happens to competitors. Competitors are not fun people. I think that's another stigma that we just don't understand. These guys aren't fun to play with. You play with to win, and I feel like I get that because I was one of those assholes when I was playing sports. I want to win. I'm competitive. My whole family is competitive. I mean, very competitive-natured people. What I grew up around, it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, last Christmas or something, my whole family's around the table playing spoons, and I mean, it doesn't matter if you're 8 or 38 or 58. Everybody is out for blood playing spoons at the table, or whatever it may be. But that's what happens when you're competitive. Where's the Eric Bieniemy quote? He's a competitive prick. He's a competitive prick, Patrick Mahomes. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, any guy that you want to name was probably an asshole behind closed doors when it comes to practice or any of these moments. And these guys show it. They love it. You look at Josh Allen, pump fake and running for a touchdown. He's pointing at the guy he got. It's competitive. Everybody's competitive, and in these competitive moments, a lot of stuff happens, and that's not to just say, oh, Patrick Mahomes is perfect or anything like that. He had a bad moment, a bad game, and that was a culmination of a lot of stuff, a lot of drop balls. There was the Eagles game right before that where MVS drops the pass on Monday Night Football that probably would have won the game. The no call in Green Bay. Culmination of a lot of stuff last year. So anyways, I thought Pat McAfee was funny as he kind of talked about Patrick Mahomes. He just had a kid. Give him a break where he's talking about the flop. But let's go to Patrick Mahomes real quick and see what he had to say this week about the officiating.
I don't feel that way. I mean, I just try to play football at the end of the day. The referees are doing their best to call the game as fair and as proper as they possibly can, and all you can do is go out there and play the game that you love as hard as you can and live with the results. And so for me, it's to go out there, play hard, try to do whatever I can to win the football game, and then live with the results based off my effort and the way that we played the game. And so I think that's what we preach here in Kansas City. I haven't felt any different. You get new referees every year. You get new circumstances, and you never can really tell because every play is different. That's what makes the NFL so special. And so I feel like I've just continued to play the game, and I just try to win. And whatever happens, kind of happens.
Look, I really think it's the best way to put it. I mean, the officials are going out there trying to do their job, just like everybody else is trying to go out there to do their job. And, just like players don't play the best all the time, refs don't officiate the best all the time. I think it is out of hand with the NFL just in general. I know it's shocking to hear from a Chiefs fan, but I think all of us that are Chiefs fans know that it's not fun for us either. There are calls here and there that are tough to handle sometimes, but you can't linger on those and you can't let that decide the game. And if that decided the game, it just kind of goes to show that you weren't meant to be here. I personally feel, just watching how the Chiefs have handled some of these situations where, hell, even that Bills game, they were almost able to come back last year after the offsides. Plenty of things and plenty of things that go into the table. Every time I see the Falcons game pop up, I think we want to blame a DPI that wasn't called in the end zone that, one, doesn't equal a touchdown. Two, nobody ever mentions that the Falcons had a whole nother drive after that play. There's a whole other drive that they were stopped on fourth down. A whole other drive. We don't want to talk about that. The Bengals game. We didn't. Anyways, I'm not going to go down the line on all of that because it's just goofy at this point. And, I've joked all week saying, honestly, I hope the Chiefs win the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl on the most controversial calls that you can call just to make everybody go absolutely bananas. Because at this point, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the NFL is going to do if the Chiefs do three-peat and there's anything not even questionable. Because, I mean, look at the Raiders game. The officials got it right in a huge moment, and you know, people want to point to somebody that's doing this motion, the official, oh, my bad hitting the mic, but doing the false start or illegal formation or, I don't know, there's like 10 different things that motion means in the NFL. And so, I don't know. I don't think that it really matters what happens. Somebody's going to find something to be upset about, and the rest of the internet is going to run with it. And you know, what can you do? Keep being great. Keep being great, and that's what the Chiefs have done. And I assume that's what they will continue to do. So let's get into this actual football game. I'm going to give a score, and I'm going to get the hell out of here because I know I've rambled on probably longer than you would have liked me to already. But there's a lot to unpack over the last few weeks. Like I said, I haven't been on the podcast in a while. So if you are here right now, make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. Hit the like button as well. Follow along on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasting needs for the Papa Schro Knows podcast. And so let's get into this film breakdown. More film breakdowns to come on the way as well. But let's get into the breakdown of the game. I think this game comes down to a couple of big things. Obviously, a spy on Josh Allen, Leo Chanel, is probably going to be that guy. I do have a film breakdown that I had from the offseason on Leo Chanel, kind of just looking at him possibly take a junior jump. Obviously, with Willie Gay leaving, that left the opening for Leo Chanel, who is, you know, if you look at the, the RAS indicator, whatever the hell the stat is, but he is like top, you know, like 1-2% most athletic athlete to come out of the draft since they've been keeping that stat. The relative athletic stat, I think it is, or something to that effect. I think that tackling is a big issue we saw a problem with when the Chiefs played the Bills last time. I think that the tackling has to be on point. The Chiefs just have to be on point, and I think they will be at home. Again, it's the playoffs. The offense worries me a little bit. I do think that they need to make sure to keep the run game involved. I feel like there's a few times where in the Texans game, the Chiefs really kind of abandoned the run game when they shouldn't have. And those moments against the Bills are going to be critical. You know, if there's a moment they're up by a score late in the third, early in the fourth type of thing, don't go out there and throw 2 incompletions and set yourself up for a third and long. Or I get it. Sometimes it's hard to stick with the run. You're only getting 1-2 yard gains or something like that. But, you know, you have to find ways to chip that clock away. You know, I firmly believe. And honestly, one reason why I was more worried about a Baltimore matchup than a Buffalo matchup in this game, just for the simple fact of how the Ravens can run the ball and take the time off the clock. I mean, that 13-play, 13-run drive against the Steelers, I mean, chef's kiss. That was one of the greatest drives of all time. I sat right here in this spot and watched it with Ray, and I just thought, that's how you do that, man. They took a whole quarter away, essentially, from the Steelers while just driving the ball right down the field for what ended up being a touchdown. Huge drive, and I think that was like right at the beginning of the second half, somewhere around in there. I don't know if the Bills have the capability to really do some of the things like the Texans did. I don't know if they have the capability to really hold on to the ball for long periods of time like that. And I don't believe in their defense as much as, obviously, the Texans' defense. I think the Chiefs got really one of the best matchups they could have to prepare them for this Bills game, you know, from the divisional round to the championship round, just because they had to deal with such a tough defense, you know, a good offense. I don't think that offense is great, and especially without Tank Dell, but a very solid and formidable offense. I don't think as good as Buffalo's. But I think the offense for the Chiefs needed more than the defense for the Chiefs. Obviously, 8 sacks, huge game. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to take the Chiefs by 3. We are going to say 24-21. I think it's a little bit lower scoring than last year. I think they hold the Bills, we'll say, to 3 touchdowns for 21. But I think the defense is able to really make some things happen. I say the Bills probably get a couple of good sustained drives that result in points. And I think they hang around with each other the entire game. And it may come down to either a last-minute touchdown, maybe a Harrison Butker field goal, maybe even overtime. We'll see. We did see in the Divisional Round a couple of years ago. You go to overtime, of course, a 13-second game, which I think by far is the greatest live sporting event I've ever been to. I think my favorite moment of a live sporting event I've ever been to was the Titans AFC Championship game, just to see the Chiefs get back to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years. But that game, I don't think I've ever had more fun at a football game than that 13-second game. So 24-21, we're rocking with the Chiefs. The three-peat's inevitable. Let me get that right. Never a doubt. Let me get all these catchphrases in here. I know Buffalo's trying to take over the stadium. It's not going to happen. They've tried to do it a couple other times, and it has failed pretty miserably for Buffalo, but we will see. So Bills Mafia, I will see you out there at Arrowhead Sunday afternoon for some fun and an AFC Championship game. And I think Patrick Mahomes raises another Lamar Hunt trophy and will be on their way to New Orleans. So if you do enjoy the content, make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. Hit the like button. Helps with the algorithm and helps me out big time. And it's free. And really just focused on growing a community here on YouTube, especially to talk Chiefs football in general. Honestly, hey, everybody else, love y'all. We're all football fans at the end of the day. I do get it. We get at each other's throats in playoff time and these moments that we all talk. Besides Bengals fans, you can leave now. And I'm joking, but it's fun. Football is fun, guys. Just let's have fun. Let's have fun this weekend, no matter who your team is and who wins. And when your Bills lose, we'll be here. We'll be friendly again. But until the next episode of the podcast, I will see you out there at Arrowhead. If you are there, if not, we'll see you next time.